Hello, this is a video that I wanted to make for a little bit, but only very recently was able to create some kind of proof that would help illustrate what I'm trying to do a little better. So I've created this little program, this little game in Game Maker, to demonstrate basically a solution to people making twin stick shooters on the PC and having really bad mouse controls, and then just ending up recommending controllers instead of actually trying to fix it, and not just having a pointer that you have to move all the way across the screen. So I had an idea on how that could be fixed, and this is what I came up with. It is a little recreation of a twin stick shooter, but I will go into these objects in a little bit. But before I do that, I will show what it actually looks like. Now, as you can see, the mouse cannot move outside this little box, and that's the biggest part of this. See, the little dot in the center, not the dot that's on the mouse, the dot in the center of the square, that is always facing the mouse in Game Maker. So basically what I've done is I've put that point, that's what decides the aim. So you can see the ship on the left here. This little arrow next to it is saying where I'm aiming. So it's always in relation to this little dot in the center of the screen. So basically this makes it almost as good as an analog stick to use a mouse like this. It'll take a little bit of getting used to. Ideally, you would not want to use a square. You would want to use like an octagon or a circle or something, because this isn't perfect. Like, you'll have to pay attention and make sure, like, because it's very easy just to get sort of, if you're trying to move it around, it will stay towards the corners more, obviously. But even with that, I think this system is way better than just having a pointer on the screen and just having the ship aim at that, no matter where it is, because it makes it very unresponsive to play like that. And I think the solution is not just to recommend using a controller. I think that's lazy. So that's why I did this. So I can, I'll just hide this right now, press H. So as you can see, I'm able to change direction of the aim pretty rapidly. That was the biggest reason I was doing this. It's because using the pointer on screen is very sluggish to try and do that, because it takes far too much distance to actually change the aim depending on where the ship is. Whereas this method does not matter where the ship is. It will always take the same distance to move to there, and you get a little... I would say the little arrow is not completely necessary just because of how little you are moving the mouse, so you should know exactly where it's going to move to, or at least the general direction, even when you see the bullets come out. But I think this is a much better system than just having a pointer on screen, because I can actually just get that back. Okay, so I'm going to remove these squares that block this mouse in. Look at this. Look how slow it is to turn. Like, I have to just sort of really sort of move a lot to do that. Whereas if I just restart, if from any distance I can do it here, and I can even move it slowly and get precision. You know, I can aim where I want, basically, without having to move it all the way across the screen. Because it might seem like it's easy to move now, but across the screen, but I work with very high sensitivity with mice. I move it, like, this actual space that I would move the mouse typically in the desktop is about like 2 to 3 inches from one end of the screen to the other. So this is this would be especially useful for people with low sensitivity on their mice, so they wouldn't have to use the entire table basically to move from one aim to the other. Yeah, but I think it works well. As you can see, sometimes I seem to be taking hits from nothing. That is just because I've randomized the size of all these little boxes, so sometimes they're so small that you can't see them. So don't worry about that. Yeah, so I just wanted to make this just to test this theory I had about locking the mouse. and I am glad to say that I think it works. I think it has worked out, because this might not be like an amazing system, and it's certainly the way I've done it. It's not elegant. It's just it shoves the mouse based on there, and it even then, like, you can still see on the edges it pulls out a little bit compared to just on the side. So that's not perfect, but like, I'm not a developer. I don't know how to code very well. I would assume that people making games like Geometry Wars and like Waves and things like that, they would have a little bit more knowledge about this kind of thing than I would, so they could probably do a bit better than that. But even if they couldn't, I think this system would still be way better than just having the pointer on there, and it would make it more usable for just keyboard and mouse. So that's why I wanted to make this video. I just wanted to show this. I don't like all I want to do is I want to see this used, or at least expanded on, or someone just take this idea and try and make it work, because I am really sick of being told by developers and publishers, oh, you should use a controller for this game, when they didn't bother to try and make a control system that works with keyboard and mouse. They just said use a controller. Because most games can be made to work with keyboard and mouse quite well. It's just that developers don't want to put the time in to do that. This took me a few hours. Like, this took me only a few hours to implement this. I'm sure it would take no longer than that for anyone else to do it, because it is simply a matter of locking the mouse and just taking the aim from a singular point on screen instead of the ship. That's not a huge undertaking. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to show this off. I will be including a download for this so you can have a try of it yourself. If you have any thoughts on this, just let me know, because I want to see what people think of this as well, because I personally think it's a good solution. But if there is another solution, I would like to hear it. Yeah, so let's get out of this. So yeah, if you are using Game Maker and you want to know how to do this, I will include the project file as well, not just the little game. So yeah, so you can see what I did and use that. So you see all these boxes are just the points where if it collides with the object, like the little dot that's on the mouse, then it'll push the mouse back. That's all those do. Yeah. So that's just the box. That's just the limit of it. And yes, you can, I guess, out muscle it. Like if you push across hard enough with the mouse, you can get out of the box. That's why I'm saying this isn't an elegant solution. Ideally, you would want the entire screen to push the mouse back into that box. But hey, I'm just trying to demonstrate this thing. I'm not actually trying to make a game. So yeah, so I've got object. This is the object that takes the direction of the mouse. So step. It's just this code to do that. Pretty simple. I had to look most of this up. I'm not a coder, so I wouldn't ask for tips from me or anything, just because I got a lot of the syntax and stuff just from Google searches. Yeah. The space is just that deletes all of the bounding boxes. That's about it. Restarts the room. H hides everything and hides the mouse. So yeah, that's to aim. This follows the mouse. Very simple. It has the same buttons here. Bullets, yeah, they're just on a cooldown timer, so that's why they come out at even intervals instead of just filling the entire screen with a stream of them. And there were two other objects I mistakenly forgot. Obviously the one for the ship, it's important, and the one for aim direction, which I just called aimder. All this one does is moves towards a point 64 pixels to the left and to up of the ship, and faces the same direction that the mouseter icon object faces, just so you have a little indicator, just because mice don't have feedback like analog sticks do, so I thought that would be necessary, but I think it could work without it, given the small distances that you are moving compared to with a pointer. So is that the ship. Yes, the cooldown. This is for bullets. This variable is just, it will go up to 3 every time you fire a bullet, and then every step, as this, yes, and every step, the mouse is, this isn't the right one. There it is. Every step that cooldown, every step the cooldown will go down by 1, so it's just every 3 steps you can fire. It's just pretty simple there. Again, all of this stuff will be available for download, so you can look at it yourself if you want to copy it. I don't really care, I just wanted to make this to show off this idea. That's just making sure it doesn't move weirdly. These are all the directions. Kind of important, make sure you put the diagonal ones, these are all the diagonal ones, the bottom 4, make sure you put them at the bottom after the just standard single key ones. I originally had them in between all of them, and it seemed to create some problem where it was either not registering any of the diagonals or not registering any of the cardinal directions. So just watch out for that. Just make sure you put all the diagonals just under the cardinals. There's one where it just creates the object hit one. It just plays an animation and gets rid of itself. It just stops the ship if you're not pressing anything. All of these ones just set variable, just move the speed up, because the direction is handled by this. I don't think the spawn is that important. The other thing I think would be interesting is the hit icon that I made for the ship. When it gets hit, I made like a little red outline of it that shows up. It's almost like a sign or something. Again, I will bring the game back up to show that. Yeah. So yeah, that's what it looks like. It's just a I don't know, it's almost like a traffic light road sign thing. I thought it looked cool. Yeah.